Morning, Tony Daly. This is our first video, our introduction to charting and how to read charts and price levels and things like support and resistance. So anyway, let's get started. And the first thing I do is I put up a multi-year chart of the SPY. And the first thing I do is I look at a weekly chart. I put up a weekly chart and I just sit back and I look at it. I've got nothing on here. I have some price bars superimposed, but just take a look at the trend. You're trying to develop a long-term trend here. So the long-term trend obviously is up. Okay, so I know that the general direction of the SPY is up. So all I need to know from the long-term chart. Swinging down to the daily chart is where we start to get busy, and you see we have a completely different picture. So we know the long-term trend is up, but this is the daily trend. And here's where we're looking at, again, we're starting looking back and looking at the entire picture, and we're looking for price levels. And we're looking for price levels where price has pivoted. And the definition of a pivot, this would be a pivot. It's swinging around. You were making higher highs here, and then you're starting to make lower lows. So it pivoted here. So this is a level, and then here's a pivot, and here's a pivot, and here's a pivot. So anytime price stops and reverses, it's a pivot. But that level becomes significant because that's an area where buyers and sellers have kind of disagreed. So here, whenever we're moving down, the sellers are in control. Whenever we're moving up, the buyers are in control. But at the point where the pivot met, there are buyers and sellers that at that moment were in agreement. And there's stock there, and that just becomes a significant level. So technical analysis, we can say, is mass psychology and looking at areas where buyers and sellers have disagreed and price was rejected and then started to reverse and move away. So those become significant. So what I like to do is draw lines at those levels. So the top is always a level. So I will place a line there, and that level, anything where price is above, is resistance. So now we have resistance above. So basically, that's telling me I see that price is moving up, but I know when it hits here, because this was a previous pivot, and then you can see again, we had it here, and again we had it here. This level becomes significant to me. So I know that I only have a little bit more room before I start to hit that resistance. Now let's look at something below, and let's look at some pivots below. But you're looking for multiple areas, and I could just simply draw a line here and look at what we have. We have another level. Now look at here. We have a reversal, we have a reversal, we have a reversal, we have a reversal off that daily, and that's real significant because now this is now support. So interestingly enough, now I have built a channel, and I've built a channel based on the price action of the stock. And that should be pretty clear to see that you're looking for multiple levels. So now I have a channel and I have a range that I could play with this stock pricing in between. So I'm looking at this, and I know that if price reverses, I know I have some support over here. So what would I be doing over here? I would be looking to see if it dropped, if it would come down to test this support level, and I would probably be a buyer over here because since it's bounced off it so many times, who's to say it's not going to bounce off it again? So I would be a buyer in this area unless price proved me wrong and it broke through, in which case I would look for the next level of support. Here is resistance. I would be a seller up here unless price proved me wrong and it broke through. So now I've got some price targets. So if you're going to buy calls, you basically know this is the only room you have left. So the train left the station over here, and I know price is going to pause over here, so I only have a couple of points to play with. So are you getting the idea? This is the idea of support and resistance. And where's another level? Just look at it. So we have another level right over here. So if we broke through here and we hit a little bit of a bear crunch, we could fall all the way down to 187 because that would be the next level of support. So that's just a basic chart looking at the SPY, and we do this, or I do this with every stock. So let's just look at another stock. Let's look at BABA. Okay, so here's something that's really cool. I always start at the weekly chart, like I said. Now, notice BABA is new, so you don't have as much price data, but what's the trend? So we could see we had a long-term trend that was down, but now we're in an uptrend, and BABA has been in an uptrend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going on 6 weeks now. BABA has been in an uptrend. So the tendency is up, but I'm getting a little skeptical because this is quite a bull run from 57 all the way up to 84.75. That's a pretty big run without a pause. Notice in the middle over here, we have just complete sideways movement. This is just a channel of consolidation. 1 week up, 1 week down. You definitely don't want to be trading in here. So that's the big picture. Let's go where we get busy. Okay, little bit of a different story here. I mean, I see the downtrend. This is broken, taking the weeks and breaking them down into days. I'll swing it out a little bit. And now look at this uptrend. Notice here's the uptrend that we saw in the weekly. This is broken down into daily bars. So let's start looking at our levels. So I see we have a level up here. Okay, this interim high is always going to be a level. Now look at how it pivoted here, and then it came down here and it gapped, and it came up to fill the gap, and this was support. Now it becomes resistance. So notice at the bottom when it pivots, there's stock over there. When it comes back up, it's like it hit the ceiling and then it bounced back off of it again. So this here is going to be a level of resistance as this price moves up. So we have 11 points before it hits another level of resistance. Now, is there any other? We have a level over here, and what you do is just look to see. Look how significant this is. So we've had consolidation in this area, and then it moved up within this channel. It came down to here. It broke through it, and it came up against it, and that's where it became very significant because support now became resistance. And then we had the downtrend, broke down here. This becomes support. So you see how it is? You're really looking for the pivots where it turned, and those become significant levels. But I'm going to say right now, BABA is going right into the ceiling right now. Now, can it break through? Of course it can, but I will tell you it's going to have a little bit of trouble breaking through. So if it breaks through this level, I would be a call buyer knowing that I have a pretty straight shot, at least technically wise, up to 95. And that's how you basically read a chart, looking at the support and resistance levels. Now, how do you get good at this? Look at a lot of charts. Just keep looking at charts. And let's look at Facebook. Facebook is announcing earnings today. Let's go to the weekly chart and get the overall trend. Very clear to see the weekly trend is up. No problem there. That's all I need to know, is that the weekly trend is up. So the weekly trend is up, the market's up, the daily chart is up. We could say that Facebook is in a very clear uptrend. Now, let's draw our first level. Our first level is here. And the reason it becomes our first level is because it pivoted down. So notice we came up, it hit this level, it pivoted down. This level is now resistance. Does that make sense? There was stock left up here. There's still buyers up here. So people bought up here. The stock sold off. They're still losing money. Chances are when it comes back up here, they're going to be very happy to say, oh gosh, I'm back to even again. And they're going to sell. That's the psychology behind it. Technical analysis is mass psychology. Just remember that. If you bought up here, you're losing money right now, and you're looking just to get whole again. You're not worried about making money anymore. You're looking just to get whole. Does that make sense? because it's real important to understand that. Where's another level? Here's another level right here. And it doesn't matter if it exceeds it by a little bit. It's a level. So here we had a pivot down. Here we seem to have no trouble breaking through it, but we have a nice little channel here. So Facebook is in a channel range. It's sitting at 102.99. It's sitting at almost 103. It's going to announce earnings, and its earnings could easily blow it past 105, or it could pause at 105, and then the first level of support is right around 100. Let's find another level. Here's a big pivot down here. Draw another price level. And you could see we've had this price level tested over here first. So this becomes a valid level. Look at how it was resistance here. Look at how it was resistance here. These prices tend to just repeat over and over again. Whenever there's a pivot, remember it becomes significant. So you want to watch your pivots. Here's another one down here. We have a pivot down here. And you could see you start building channels that the stock moves in, and now it becomes a little bit more defined and a little bit easier to see things and see levels and know, if I buy a put, where might it go down to? If I buy a call, where might it go down to? Well, I know if I buy a put right here, there's a good chance it could bounce off this level, so it may not have that much room to move down. These are things you need to think about, because you know that other people are all looking at the same thing and they're going to react to it. So play their game. If you go with the flow and go with the trend, you'll generally be okay. Let's look at another stock. Let's look at Netflix. This is just practicing looking at charts, guys, because it's the same thing for every chart. So what is the trend on Netflix? Well, we know it's been up, and here we ran into some congestion and consolidation and all kinds of stuff going on around here. Netflix has been, this is also volatility. Look how volatile this stock has gotten, but that's okay. Let's take it down to the daily level. And let's take a look again, and let's start finding levels. Okay, the first level I see is always going to be the top. It was tested once. We have a gap up and a pivot here, so I'd like to put a level there. We have levels down here. You see what I'm doing? I'm looking for double bottoms where price was first, where price was supported, and then it was entry points. Now, here we came up, almost tested this level, dropped down, and we're staying within the channel, and now we're in the channel again. So notice, here is our little range that we're working with on Netflix that I know we're going to hit resistance right around 118, and we have support down around 95 or 94. Option sellers, now that's sellers now, are concerned where price is not going to be. So when they sell their credit spreads, it's very important they see these levels and sell their short strikes beyond support and resistance, because that's what makes sense to them. They want the stock to stay in a range. So when we all become credit spread traders, this is going to be your Bible, and this is going to be how you're going to figure out where you're going to place your short strikes. So hope that makes sense to you, and this is basically how it's done. It's no more difficult than to use your eyes and to subjectively build levels of where you see pivots. But not just arbitrary pivots, it becomes more significant when it happens more than once. So we got, I want to wrap it up here because we're hitting the 15-minute mark, but this will serve as a great introduction to you guys for support and resistance. Look forward to your feedback, and then we'll move it to the next level from there. Thanks.